Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're talking about Warhead.
Ooh.
Yeah, kind of a scary title. We don't want to, warheads are normally, nuclear and attached to missiles that come to blow us up.
Yeah,
But
we don't even want to go down that road.
my favorite kind of warhead is the warhead that's the sour candy.
Yeah, okay.
Do you like
I
sour
don't,
candies?
not that much. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
they're there, I'll have one,
Mm-hmm.
but no, the sour or hot, I don't really do those all that well.
Yeah.
I just can't handle it.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. I've always been a big sour guy. I've talked to you before about the Terminator 2 candy, the T2 sour meltdowns that were just concentrated citric acid. You put it on
Yeah.
your tongue, it would be so sour it would burn your tongue. Yeah, that's
And some
pleasure.
people love those. It's just like wings, right? Like chicken wings.
Hmm.
My buddy at work, when it comes to like spicy stuff, this sucker goes bananas with the spicy stuff. When he makes lunch, he gets those like noodles in a cup, and then
Hmm.
but that's not good enough. He pours in this toxic brew of Tabasco sauce and hot sauce and some kind of powder. And so
Uh-huh.
when that thing's in the microwave, it starts smelling up the room. I mean, it's
Hmm.
like tear gas.
Oh my
I'm like,
gosh.
how could you possibly eat this? He's like, it's so good. Clears the sinuses. I'm like, yeah, I bet. But I could never. I mean, the hottest thing I can eat is like some barbecue sauce. That's about it.
Yeah,
What about you?
yeah.
What do you like? Are you a hot guy?
No, I've started to become more friendly to spicy food after my time living abroad. Before I went to Korea, I wasn't really on board with the spice, but it was gradually introduced into my diet in such a way that but I still, everything's relative. Compared to Eep, I'm a lightweight. She
Yeah.
pours, I mean, she's got so much stuff going on. She'll be eating and I can't talk to her. She's just like, don't talk to me, I'm eating. And she looks like she's in pain. She looks like, who's the guy that sang, "Hello, darling. Nice to see you. It's been a long time."
Is that Conway Twitty?
That's
Is that who
right.
that is?
Remember how Conway Twitty used to look like he was in pain when he was singing?
He
He was
was
just
in the heart.
that's right. That's right. That's the way Eep looks when she's eating her spicy foods. And then she's done and she's like, that was way too spicy. I was like, why are you doing this to yourself? It's supposed to be pleasurable. Eating should
So,
be pleasurable.
so she
But
has to concentrate to eat. It's so
yeah,
hot. She has to actually put her mind after it.
right.
See, I've
Right. It's a
never
mind
understood
effort.
people that are like that. But I mean, I don't know. It's what is it? It seems like some countries are more lean towards the hotter food than us. Is that that's just the cultural thing, or what
Well,
is
I
that? Is
think
that the availability of certain elements in society that we don't have here?
I think part of it has to do with the fact that you can only grow those really spicy peppers in more tropical climates. The chili pepper that is used in so much Thai food was actually introduced by the Portuguese during their travels in the mid part of the millennium there. So, but yeah, they're cultivated down there in Thailand, and for whatever reason, the people down there, I think. Eep always says that when you eat something really spicy and it's really hot outside, it actually can cool you off. To me, that seems like counterproductive. Like I want to have something that's like ice cream when I'm, in a hot place.
Yeah.
But it is weird. And then in Korea, they pride themselves on their spicy food too. But in Japan, spicy food isn't really a thing. So it's hard to tell, is what I'm saying.
I stick to the good old bland stuff, but I like my food like I like my women. Bland. Bring them in, bring them on.
Well, Aaron, with that, let's talk about Warhead.
Man, the love theme from Warhead is not screwing around. I kind of pruned the first 30 seconds of bum, 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 bum. It's like a royal march to the can. That's what it reminded me of. But
Well, this is a one-man show. And so
well, there was a musician
oh, there
though on
was a
this.
musician.
There
Okay.
was,
Tell
yeah.
us about
So
it. Give us the background.
I will. This is Warhead, which I'd never heard of this one. I'm guessing both. I know it's your first time around
It
this one. I'll
is.
even ask. This is another one. When was it made? I'm not sure. It was published sometime between 1989 and 90. It depends on where you go to get your information. And this was created by a fellow named Glenn Williams. Glenn spelled triple cool guy style Glyn, which
He's
I
got to
think that's
be. He's got to be British. He couldn't
oh
get away
well,
with that in America.
good
No way.
call.
Yeah.
You know, you could if you were being a cool guy.
I
Uh,
think the engineer on a lot of Beatles records is named Glenn Johns, and he
oh
spells it the
yeah.
same way. Yeah.
Well, this guy, it's funny. Now, here we go with this, and this goes for the guy that did the music too. Glenn Williams. This was his only offering on the Amiga boat, but that doesn't mean it do nothing. This guy did a game for the ZX and the 64 called Cholo, which apparently is a game of summer. Now, I don't think we've come across Cholo boat,
Mm.
but he did a lot of stuff in the more modern era. He did a game I've heard of called Bionicle. This is on a bunch of different systems. He was director on that, and a game called I Ninja on the Xbox, which I'd heard of that. He designed a bunch of other games, including Independence Wars 1 and 2. Independence Wars 1 and 2 were they're considered sort of the indirect sequels to this. There's another game that's also considered a direct sequel, but he didn't work on that. We'll talk about that in a minute. He also worked on a game called Evasive Action for DOS and a few other systems. So get this. One of his big claims to fame, he was one of the guys in charge of the Sonic Racing, Sonic and Friends 3D Racing. He did a couple of those. Remember those things?
Mm-hmm.
He also did the Splatterhouse. He was one of the guys that was involved in the Splatterhouse. I don't know, reimagining on the 360 back in the day. So he hasn't just rested on his laurels. He's done some other stuff. The music on this is credited to a fellow named Michael Powell. Michael Powell, this is also his only Amiga credit, but he did work on some stuff that we would have at least heard of. He did the music for Jimmy White's Whirlwind Snuka on the Genesis / Mega Drive. The music on Power Drome, Twilight 2000, Mega Traveler 2, and Troika on DOS. So he did a lot of DOS actions. This was his only, and I mean, unless there's a ton of music in the back of the end of this that I've never heard, I guess he just did the theme. That's all. So, because I don't recall a bunch of music, I don't recall a bunch of incredible orchestrate maneuvers kicking in halfway through the game, at least as far as I played it. So I'm assuming that's all he did. This is an OCS game. This one retailed, Boater, when it came out in 90 for £24, 99p, and was only released on the Atari ST and the Amiga. And from what I've been able to ascertain, the Amiga version was based on the ST version. The ST version was your lead version. And one of the few games I've seen where if you look at the box on the back, it says pictures shown of Atari ST. So that's...
Well, it could be that this was the ST was released first, and the Amiga version just had to rely on the ST.
It's possible. They're both credited for release the same year, but it's possible. I will say they look so similar that I don't think it really matters. They're similar enough to where I didn't even do a versus on this because they look too much the same. So, I did mention that this game had a sequel of sorts. This was again not involving Glenn Williams. It was the XF 5700 Mantis experimental fighter for DOS. I actually do remember this game when it came out. I don't know if I've ever played it or not. I mean, there's no way I could have played it competently. Let's put it that way. But
yeah.
I mean, I may have found it, air quotes, and then had a look at it because the name's familiar to me. This game comes up with a long tail, but it does give you the entirety of the story on the game. You don't even have to go to the box. What did you think? I've got the tale here if you want to hear some of it.
Yeah, it's also present in the manual.
Yeah. And on the box.
And on the box. I mean, it's a story.
I've got a Cliff Notes version here.
Okay,
Cliff Notes version. This is on the box. The most disturbing. This is on the box. It is the middle of the 21st century, and Earth has been violently attacked by an insect-like alien nation from a nearby star system, killing billions of humans, swiftly wiping out countries and collapsing world states, throwing the planet into merciless hands of a nuclear winter. As the remaining humans turn to each other for combined strength and support, the fist of the Earth, world government, turns to you to lead the ultimate battle. And then the box goes on to say that this has over 30 hours of solid gameplay, 39 missions, and then summarizes it by saying a most challenging space simulator combining strategy with arcade action. So that's a pretty decent short version. Insects, we got to go kill insects. Sounds familiar in a way. So just give me your thoughts as this thing hones into view, Boat.
Yeah, this nothing about this appealed to me at first at all. I mean, this was just like I was just like I loathed this game from Jump Street
I I have to say, I did like once you get past all the verbiage.
Because oh no, okay, let me because it starts with the love theme.
Yeah, it's not that good.
No.
Uh,
And then you get these scrolling text until doomsday, okay? That I hate that whenever a game does that. That sucks.
yeah.
And then you're right into load a game or start the game, okay?
Yeah.
And then you're in. So
There is one screen that shows up for a minute after the thing roads, and it's a picture of, I guess it's the picture of your ship, and the ship is so kind of dopey looking and kind of doesn't look like the fist of the earth would have sent this ship out to defend it, that it is sort of endearing to me. You know what I mean? It's just like, here's our fist. It's like this little putt-putt type ship. But I thought that was amusing. But yeah, then you're into the game at that point. And so when this thing puts you in the game, brother, you're in the game.
yeah.
It does not hold your hand. So, Boat, if you're watching at home, we're actually looking at the footage you shot, Boat.
Yeah. Surprisingly, there is not a whole lot of footage on this, and by surprisingly, I mean completely unsurprisingly. There is not a lot of footage on this game on the internet.
I think the best way to start this is I want to get because you shot the footage. You played this before me. Give me your initial thoughts as this booted up, and you started playing. And your path mentally, how did you cope with the opening of this game?
Drink.
Can you give us more?
This game, first of all, any game that tells you the precise sequence of keys that you need to press to beat the first mission is not a well-designed game. That's what you have to do to beat the first mission. They're like, press this key, then press this key to do this, then press this key to do this. Then gently move the mouse forward. Then it's like docking. Make sure you're paying attention during this part, as if you're going to be reading the manual and not be paying attention. This game wants you to fail and gives you every opportunity to fail over and over and over again. It is the mark of a person that's created this game that didn't think to ask anybody else about what it wanted to be or where it was going. There were games that did this sort of thing that were out at this time, and so many things were just totally disregarded. Maybe the designer didn't play other games, or maybe he just had this vision that he was going to do it better, but it fails in almost every point to give you an enjoyable experience.
Just laid your cards right down the table there, Boat, on that. So what you're saying is you weren't a fan. Your opening thoughts on the game, not so good.
That was my first hour and a half with the game.
So is there may be an uptick coming here in a minute.
You asked me for my opening thoughts.
Okay, I will say, you had told me before I'd even touched this, because I don't usually start playing the games until sort of early to midweek, because otherwise I'll forget about them, if I'm honest. And Boat had told me, he said, listen, this game, you better bring a bag lunch, pal. I was like, oh, and when Boat tells me that, I know I'm going in the deep end, because Boat never says, like, bring a bag lunch, and we're playing like a Mr. Do clone. I mean, it's always something brutal. So I was already on my guard when I loaded this up. Now, I knew our good buddy Level Lord had provided us with a keyboard shortcut overlay. So yes. I will say, I played this by I got 3 monitors set up here. I had the keyboard overlay in one monitor. I had the docks in another monitor. And then beside the docks, I had Boat's playthrough streaming. So I could see I had everything cooking. I had every advantage. And so when I started this game, the first thing you'll notice is that when the very second you start, you feel like you can't do anything. It's like you're completely boned. And this is one game where you absolutely, positively, you need to go to the manual. The manual for this, I don't know if there's and maybe Boat, I don't know if there's like a big thick manual somewhere,
No,
but
there's not. The manual is the manual.
the manual I found, I think it's got like 12
Yeah,
pages, and a couple of
yeah.
those pages like how to load it.
Hmm.
So like, and two of the pages are just straight up guiding you by the hand through the very first mission. Thank God that that's there. But once you get past the first mission, you're on your own. Like you've got no help from there on. So you sort of have to. I had to depend on that walkthrough a lot as I went through the game. So it takes a while just to launch your ship, and then once you get into space, you're gonna notice that when you use the mouse on this, it can be very sensitive. Now I think you played this and that was something that was a pet peeve of yours right out of the gate, right? With the mouse mode.
Right. Because I started playing this game on the Mister, because that's the
Right.
way I play every Amiga game these days.
Yeah.
And this is a game that it is essential that you have very precise mouse control,
Yeah.
or else you will spin into infinity, because you control your axes through the mouse, much like you do in Elite Dangerous. There's a lot of comparisons between this game and Elite Dangerous, and really also the original Elite. But since the original Elite, well, I always think about it being an 8-bit game. It didn't have mouse control, although the 16-bit versions did. It's still much more like Elite Dangerous than the original Elite.
I will say, I did play this on the Mister, and I was fortunate enough to have one of the wireless tank mouses. And thankfully, I think these are tuned to be like to react like an Amigos, at least for me. Because while I did suffer an occasional bout of almost puking when this thing goes into, like, I mean, if you've ever had too much to drink and you're laying in your bed and you put your foot on the ground to make the room stop spinning. I've been there several times. That's what this game's like sometimes. And once you get cooking, it's like, it's crazy time. But once I was able to, you have to make very small, deliberate motions with the mouse, at least with this mouse. And then once you do that and you make sure you keep doing that, you're okay. You can get it going. And then the first, I'd say 4 missions are all just straight up figure out what you're doing missions. And
The first 10 missions are that.
well, I mean, before you even have any enemies is what I'm saying. Before you even get to an enemy, because the first thing you do is literally just undock your ship from the space station, drive it out to a checkpoint, turn around, drive it back to the space station, and then try to dock your ship. Now, I know you weren't having much fun with the docking process either, were you, Boater?
Well, I want you to keep talking, because I'm going to go for a while until
Okay, okay. Well, I'm just gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you my experiences with the game, and I'll let you do your thing. So I was armed with all this pre-knowledge. I sat down to play the game. Now, the game is not what I would call the most well thought out in terms of all the various menus you have to go through to get stuff done. You'll get a message. You have to go and look at the message. Then you have to go and like to your navigation screen. Navigation, this is pretty interesting. You can sort of type in where you want to go, and it'll sort of hone in on it. Like, for example, when you on the second mission, you've got to go to Earth. All right, so you can type in Earth. It'll zoom in on the right solar system. You pick the planet, and then you've got to go to your like tactical map, and kind of once you get to the sector where you're at to try to find the particular target you're looking for. It's also got an interesting, like, I don't know, thrusting system. You've got autopilots, but you've also got thrusting, front-back thrusts on your mouse, and so you could do them in spurts. I did that a lot when I had to shoot something, or if I had to get to the point where I could dock. You know, you have to kind of like, it reminded me back in the old days when I used to have a Chevy Citation. I had to kind of tap the gas to keep the car from quitting, so when I tried to park, it was a pathetic display of someone going like this, trying to get in the parking spot. But I could get it in there eventually. So that's what I felt like. I did not feel like I was landing a Viper on the Battlestar Galactica. I can tell you that right now. I felt like the biggest dork on the Galactica. Like that I was parallel parking a dud car. Once you get past... the first mission was just fly around. The second mission, you've got to go out and to Earth with it. What's basically like an interstellar drive. It's called a quad drive, if I'm not mistaken, that will basically shoot you to wherever you've got targeted on the map. and it'll shoot you back, and then you have to dock. I should go into a little bit of the docking. Again, thank God for boat, because normally I would just fly up to the ship, and then I assumed there was a docking procedure. It's sort of not. Once you get within like 100 meters of the ship, if you're not hauling all kinds of tail, it'll just dock you. There's a cut scene where you just go into the dock. So I was able to dock okay just by that sputtering technique. But I could easily see how you could just ram or go past it. It would not be that difficult to do. There's a couple more practice missions where you're basically just learning how to navigate, learning how to use your various, how do you shoot missiles, stuff like that. And then you get into the missions where you actually fight someone. I got to a mission where I just drove out and drove around for a while and came back and nothing happened. And then I got to a mission where you actually get to fight something finally. I got killed a bunch of times, but I did manage to kill this thing one time. And I don't think I got any further than that. So I didn't get well into the game. But I did. And the thing is, this game won't let you do what you want. If you go out and try to explore or whatever, you fail the mission. They get mad. I mean, you could do it, but you can't go back. So it's it wants you to take things in a certain way. I read that there are escort missions, rescue missions, which sound like they might be interesting. I didn't get that far. Bo, you had a good leap on me here, so I'm just going to turn the tables over to you. Give us your thoughts and your what you have in mind here.
Well, I want to talk to you about why I think this game succeeds and why I think it fails. So the game sets out to put you in a craft, and you go out and you do various missions and you come back. I think that it succeeds in that regard. You've got, lots of relatively short missions. You go out, you complete the mission, you come back, you get a new mission. The game allows you to save in between missions, and that's good because you're going to want to do that. The game tries to simulate what it might be like to fly a space fighter, and this is an unanswerable question. Is it realistic? Well, space fighters don't exist, so it's hard to say. But I will say that there are a couple of things that really, really annoyed me about flying what is it called? The Fist of Glory?
It does have a name. Keep going. I'll tell you the name. It's the Foe 57.
Okay, the Foe 57. So the first thing is that the game is constantly beeping at you when you have a message. It's not enough that they just flash a message icon on there. It also will just hound you with that beeping sound. Beep, 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 beep. And then also when you're not doing exactly what the game wants you to do, or even if you are and you're not just doing it fast enough, you get another thing that says PWS, which is the equivalent of the GPS just repeating proceed to the route over and over again. You have these two things beeping at you continuously, and it makes you want to take your fist and put it right through the fist of the earth. Yes. Whoever's idea this was, you have put so many people off the game just by that design choice. Okay?
Yeah.
If there's a mission, put an icon with a little letter on there and wait for the player to hit the M key to bring it up. You don't have to beep constantly. If the player is not proceeding to the route, you need to tell the player what to do. Don't just flash that icon. That icon does not help you. Okay? All it does is make you upset. Okay? The next place the game fails is the way the ship actually controls. So in a normal craft, the one thing that you can always depend on is some sort of throttle gauge, okay? How much do I have my foot on the gas at any one time is something that almost every flight sim or space sim gives you, except for Warhead. In Warhead, you have absolutely no idea how fast you're going or what your velocity is unless you are targeting another object. That is the only way you can judge how close or how far away or I mean, how fast you're moving. What that means is you could press the mouse button just inadvertently for a couple seconds. And if you're on top throttle, you could literally be hundreds of thousands of meters away from your target without meaning to be. And what do you do at that point? Well, I guess you can slowly make your way back, or you can just reset the game. Neither one of these are good choices. Okay. The game implements a series of throttle mechanics that you can use. For example, like F4, or I'm sorry, just regular 4. 4 is like the creep mode, right? I think they even call it the creep mode, where you hit 4 and then you press the mouse key and you'll ease on up on something, okay? But unless you hit the 4 key, you're not in creep mode. And the game never tells you, there's no static display of what pilot mode you're on. Why they didn't consider this is beyond me. Even the most basic of game designers will tell you, listen, you need to be able to tell where you are. It's just like when you're driving a car. It would be like if they didn't tell you what gear you were in an automatic transmission. Like if it was not printed on the stick or it wasn't displayed on the heads-up display in front of you, like on the dash. It's just something that's so basic and would eliminate so much frustration. Okay. Now, another good thing about the game is they've really simplified the way the weapons work. The targeting is very easy to do. It's easy to select a target. It's easy to select another target. It's all reticle based. That's a good thing. Okay. The game, even when you know how to dock, docking is not guaranteed. This concept of docking had to have come from Elite. There's no way that this whole thing, the guy that designed this game, he would have had to have played Elite and had to have seen how I did it. I feel like this is one of the unfinished parts of the game, because you've got the cutscene and you've got the approach, but in between, so many things can happen. Like there were times where I felt like I was really in control and I could dock successfully. And there were other times where I would mimic those same motions down to the smallest degree, and I would hit 9, which is the normal auto dock key once you're within 100 meters or 200 meters, and I would crash into the ship. And I don't care if you can save your game or not, and I don't care if the missions are only 10 minutes long. If you do a mission and you're coming back and you spend time getting ready to dock and you dock and you blow up, you don't want to play anymore. You want to quit the game and go on to something else. And that's the feeling that I had over and over and over and over again in this game. And it's really unfortunate because aside from the speed issues and the docking issues, there's a lot to like about this game if you are the type of person that really doesn't require a lot of context for what you're doing. I would have really appreciated, instead of giving you a wall of text at the beginning of the game, to break the story up. You don't have to give us the total backstory. In between each mission, give us a paragraph of text that sets the stage for what you're about to do. Maybe introduce a character. Maybe make you a character. This is why Wing Commander was so successful, because it wasn't just like mission, 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 mission. You felt like you were on a base with other pilots working for the good, the greater good. And in this game, you get none of that. You just get a series of missions with text telling you what to do. And by 1989, we're in a post-Elite world. Elite had already been done. I don't know what this game brought to the table that Elite didn't already give you, other than it probably moves faster on the Amiga, but I'm not sure when the Amiga version of Elite was released. Now, if you had never played Elite and this was your first sort of, mission-based space sim, I can see why we probably would have gotten into it and thought it was rad. But this is the same problem that I have with Elite Dangerous, and they fixed this in later updates. When the game first came out, it was just so cold and impersonal. It was just like you were doing these missions, you're going to blow something up, or you're going to get some minerals, or you're going to blow up a bounty hunter, or whatever. And you would get back to the base and you would watch your numbers go up as your money went up or whatever. But there was no interpersonal interaction. And I'm the kind of gamer that needs NPCs. I need to feel like I'm part of a world. I need to feel like there are other people that inhabit this world with me. And I need to feel like what I'm doing means something. And in a game like Warhead, you don't get any of that. All you get is just going out doing a mission, coming back and docking, going out and doing another mission. For some people, maybe that's enough, but it's not enough for me.
You know, I'm not gonna shoot down anything you said. I mean, you got, and there were even a few points about it that I didn't like that they need to be brought up. I don't like the way space looks in this. If I'm honest, I just don't like. I don't like the way they rendered the stars and stuff that well. It just I don't like it. I don't think it's that good. I mean, I've seen it done better, and so that's a problem. They could have made instead of having all the multiple menus you have to go to, they could have just done everything off of one menu. It just had letters that opened up. You know, that's not that complicated. It's the same basic thing, but I don't have to switch around to much different menus. There's that picture I was talking about, Bode. It's funny because there's a mission that I did where you go out and test, like, I think you're testing the escape pod. I don't know if you got that far into this, but like after you eject it, they just take you back to the base. They could have done it. They could have gotten rid of the docking. I watched, and another thing I got that I used to help me was watching the guys over at Lemon did a playthrough on this. God bless them. And one of the things that the fellow on their set said is like, when you're docking, aim for the exact center of the thing, and that's pretty much that's how I approach docking. I didn't have as much trouble with docking. I did have trouble. This is an indictment of me more than the game, but getting going and hitting all the buttons and stuff, I would just forget all the stuff.
Why would they not just put? There is no reason at all for you not to have your heads-up display on at all times. Yeah, there is no reason at all not to have your weapon systems on at all times because your weapon system is your targeting system.
Yeah,
those two things, those are wasted keystrokes. Yeah, again, it's asinine game design.
Well, I think it's old school game design because, listen, if y'all watch the old Star Trek, you know, give me the helm, bring up communications. There's sort of a thing. I think some people think that opening different systems and stuff adds to the realism.
Well, maybe, and again, it's probably the frustration of having to do it over and over and over after you die every single time. Because the Enterprise isn't getting blown up nearly as often as I was.
Well, yeah, the Enterprise didn't look like the
Warhead either. The Warhead looks like a flea with wind.
The message that pops up for you to continue the sortie operation, I think SCSO, that does because you're trying to continue it.
Yeah,
that's what you don't need to
tell you. No, screw you.
It reminded me of this. If you're watching The Simpsons, Homer made an "everything is okay" alarm. It just went off whenever things were fine. That's what this reminded me of. It's like there's nothing going on, and I hear burp burp nonstop. I'm like,
here's another thing that I really hated. Like if you said, if you are if you vary even a little bit, like say you go to one of the moons of Mars to do your singing, you're like, oh man, I want to jump over here and see what this is. Well, guess what? Even though you completed your mission, you're still going to fail. And the game does not tell you anything until you come back.
Yeah.
The least the game should have done is sent you a message saying, hey, you failed your mission. You might want to go ahead and restart now instead of trying to dock again and wasting time.
Yeah, and they get on you for using your quad drive, unauthorized quad drive use. You know, it's like it feels like something you get for like going into a roundabout too fast. It's like, it's like here's your ticket. It's like aren't I the guy saving the earth?
You're the last.
Why are you giving me the business?
Yeah, exactly.
You should be helping me. Turn these beeping crap off. With all that said, I didn't hate this game and I'll tell you why. Because I eventually figured it out. So when I can figure out one of these games, even to us. By the way, something else I should mention. I did figure it out, but it's still the controls were a hamper. There's got to be a better way to do.
Here's what I would have done. I would have eliminated the mouse completely. I would have controlled your targeting with the arrow keys,
Yeah.
and everything else you just use keyboard. You just use the keyboard. There needs to be a throttle up and a throttle down. They need to be not the mouse buttons, just regular keyboard buttons, and you control your targeting. And the thing is, you got to have a throttle. You got to have a gauge that shows you how fast you're going when you're not targeting something.
I will say having having the manual thrusters on the mouse it was odd. Like I said, it was a weird feeling
Because, okay, how easy is it for you to push the mouse button and not accidentally nudge the mouse forward a little bit? The answer is not very easy at all.
well, the funny thing is, once I was actually using the mouse and hitting the gas, I could get around better than when I wasn't hitting the gas. But still, it was weird. I don't want to come down on stuff like that too hard because and you mentioned this, Bode. This was probably made for a different sort of mouse, for the tank mouse. It's not as sensitive as a modern mouse as that. Plus, I don't know where this falls in the realm of these sorts of games. I know it's after Elite. I don't know, but I mean, maybe some things they hadn't came around on yet. But I mean, with all that said, with the controls were a little bit wonky, and the funny thing is, on the navigation screen, you can go in full 3D with the keys. I thought to myself, why don't you just have this control the ship? This would be, like you said, it'd be easier to use the cursor controls. But with all that said, I did sort of enjoy this. It's a throwback, but I mean, there are parts of it I did like. The navigation system, such as it is, it wasn't too hard to find where I was supposed to go. And when I got there, it wasn't too hard to find what I was looking for. That was nice. I didn't hate that. Again, having not played into the more intricate, advanced missions that involved, escorts or rescuing people, that sounds like it might be kind of fun. So it is one. Believe it or not, if I could get the controls into a more, I mean, and I was adjusting my sensitivities to make it quite, more playable than it was. But I mean, if I could zero that in, I think I could have a little bit more fun with it. But I mean, it's sort of it's an early attempt at this sort of game. You're right. This doesn't have anything like Wing Commander, but it's just not that kind of game. I mean, this is just a simulator of being in a spaceship. It's got no, I mean, the backstory is just there. It really,
the backstory is bog standard. It was, I mean, there's nothing special about it, and it doesn't affect the story at all once you start playing.
I thought the backstory was okay. I mean, when you read the entirety of the backstory, it's pretty deep. It gets into it. I thought it was okay. We've read much worse.
Okay.
But I mean, you're right. It didn't affect me playing that much.
I mean, insect alien invaders is not exactly, new ground in the world of sci-fi.
It went down the road that Watchmen went down, which is the aliens killed almost everyone on Earth, so all the people left banded together and became stronger. So there's that. But yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. Listen, if you're a fan of this kind of game, okay, your options are limited on the Amiga. Okay. You've got Elite, which Elite 1 is probably not an analog to a game like this, but I think Elite 2 is, especially because Elite 2 uses that mouse control. Of course, Elite 2 was several years after this. I think Elite 2 came out in 92. Wing Commander was unplayable on the Amiga unless you had a Mega Amiga. So I totally understand people that really like this game because it was very unique. It was a unique experience on the Amiga for something that ran and played this well.
Yeah.
And even with all of the problems that I have with the control scheme, it never bogs down. It never seems slow. It feels very snappy. Everything you do feels snappy. And so I get it. I get why people like this game. And I don't think it's a bad game. I think that there were design decisions that were made that were poor, but looking at it from an overall perspective, if you want a mission-based space flight simulator, that you're going to have a hard time finding more than this and a couple other games on the whole platform.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. Unlike, say, the Elite games where heavily go down to trading and whatnot, exploration, this does none of that. This is more like a flight sim, like
right.
F-15 Strike Eagle 2. This is the F-15 of space, basically.
And I do understand the appeal of that as well, where not everybody wants to play in this endless universe where, the game never really ends and you're just kind of going around doing stuff. Some people want little bite-sized chunks
Yeah.
of curated things to do. You play a mission or two and then you turn it off, and then the next day you play a couple more missions. I get that too, and I understand the appeal of that. Trust me, I do. One of the things that was another thing that turned me off Elite was that I just felt like I was just doing the same crap over and over again, watching numbers go up, but I didn't really feel like I was getting any closer to the enjoyment at the end of the tunnel.
It's like
Versus,
going to work. That's what
yeah,
it
it's
reminded
like
me
going to
of.
work. Yeah,
This is more
exactly.
like you sort of can feel like you're actually trying to go out and kill some stuff.
Right,
So I mean,
right.
I can understand that. This scored pretty well, both back in the day. I will say the current Lemon score has this at 8.16, very good score. Allure has this at 82%. It's an excellent score. The magazines of the day were pretty fond of this one. Um, Ace gave this a 920, Amiga Format 88. Now, Amiga Joker, they are the outlier in all these scores. They gave it a 48%. Just crapped all over
I'll
it.
tell you why. If I watched the whole Lemon Amiga playthrough that Life School did. And
Yeah.
again, he's great. I love the way
Oh,
that he
yeah.
talks about the game, because he's like, for 20 years I would try and fire this thing up and I couldn't figure out how to dock. And then he's the and so and then he's like, once I figured out how to dock, I was able to make some progress. But even he wasn't able to get as far as I did. So but what he says is that Joker hated it because they couldn't get past the first mission. They couldn't come to grips with the controls, and so they slided the game. They slagged it off completely.
That's sort of a weak. I don't know if the game's broke or something. That's one thing, but you just can't do it. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
CU Amiga gave us a 93. Dator Magazine 8 out of 10. The game's 90. The one 93. Average magazine rating was 82. So really, the Joker score, like I said, was by far the biggest outlier. This won an award in Amiga Power. May 1991. This was named the number 61 game in the all-time top 100 Amiga games. That's pretty nice. This was also pretty popular on the ST. It did chart on the ST for 2 months, and it charted at position 13 in the UK. But still, it did chart.
Yeah.
Did we get any Discord action on this
Oh
one? Did
yeah.
anybody have the guts?
Oh yeah. We got some Discord action from the game selection committee member that reviewed this game. This is the one and only Level Lord. This game holds a near and dear place in his
He's
heart.
the champion of this game.
That's right. He says this might not be the prettiest space sim for the Amiga, but for me it's the most engaging one and also one of the best made for the Amiga. Sure, vector-filled objects look dated today, but at the time when Warhead came out, it was state of the art. If you're into this genre, you know what I'm talking about. This mission-based space sim beats any other I've played on our beloved system, and it was dethroned much later with Descent Free Space on the PC.
That's a great game, by the way. Love that game.
The learning curve on how to navigate space and engage in combat with your trusted FOE 57 might be somewhat difficult, but since missions are pretty short and each could be completed in just a few minutes, it gives lots of opportunity for improvement. And those short, scripted, and interesting missions are really what I really appreciate about the game. You can take a quick jump into it, finish a mission in 10 or 15 minutes, and move on, saving your game upon docking with Soulbase. I took a quick play this weekend, and since I didn't play Warhead since last year, played through 20-ish missions, blasted Syrian bugs all over the galaxy, saved bunches of CSTs, convoys of stupid traitors, and enraged Berserker to the point that he is targeting me now. I know I'm close to killing him as I did long ago on my A500, but ran out of weekend. Regardless of dated graphics and somewhat chaotic dogfights, this is still a top game on the Amiga for me. Unbelievable immersion into the war between humans and bugs, delivering action and a sense of loneliness as you traverse vast vacuums of space. Did I mention fantastic and atmospheric music as the game starts and walks you through the intro and story behind the war? Shame it is too short and feels unfinished. My score, 10 out of 10.
He put it over, but
Yeah, yeah. So it just goes to show that, it's sort of a trite saying, but you hear it a lot in video game reviews. Fans of the genre will love it. And I
Yeah.
think this is definitely a game that you could accurately say fans of the genre will love Warhead.
If you are interested in trying to get this for your own collection, I did look this up on eBay. There were a couple for sale. They both wanted, one was going for 200 or best offer, and the other one 99 or best offer. But I did see this sell recently, complete in box, for 25 US dollars. So if you hold out, you may be able to get this on the cheap. But overall, I was actually, I mean, I was scared to death when I started, and overall was pleasantly surprised and slightly relieved that I could at least hang in there. I think there's some fun to be had if you're a hardcore gamer that is into this sort of affair. But if you're a casual gamer, I think I'd steer clear of this one, Boater.
Yeah.
Are you a sketchy tech? Do you have the right tools for the job? Have there been incidents? Next time, don't try to fix it yourself. Send your broken Amiga to Retro Rewind. Get a full diagnostic, a reasonable estimate, and the peace of mind knowing that your machine is in the hands of real technicians with decades of experience and cutting-edge repair equipment. Save 10% off your repair with the promo code Amigos10. Thank you to RetroRewind.ca for supporting this episode.
Amiga News.
All right, Aaron. Guess what? We got tons of Amiga news this week. First thing up is Outrun Arcade. It's finally happening, Aaron. It's finally happening. Outrun. We're getting a real version of Outrun. This comes to us, of course, from Indie Retro News, the crack reporting team over there, Neil. This is, Aaron, probably one of the most long-awaited ports for the Amiga. In fact, the title screen says, "Finally, Amiga fans can rest in peace."
Yeah, this is the first I'm hearing about this, and I'm already super excited.
Yeah,
Because this is the one. This is sort of like the Holy Grail.
yeah.
And I can tell, man, if this is the game right here, we have a winner. What do we got here, Bode? Is this transcoded or?
So it says that this is for AGA Amigas, and it comes close to running at full arcade speed. You do have to have an 040. But listen, if you're into the Amiga, chances are you probably have an accelerated Amiga. It says that I'm trying to take a look and see what it was written on in terms of if it was what engine it was written on. I'm sort of scrolling quickly, and so I can't find that, but it looks great. This is definitely AGA graphics, and it says that he's got the game going, and now he's just got the audio to do. So super exciting. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm happy that it's coming out, but I'm sad that you have to have an 040 to run it,
Mm-hmm.
or an 030 or whatever. I mean, you've heard recently that the ST has got a racing game out and it's running like gangbusters on the ST, and I'd hope that we could match that kind of. I mean, of course, granted, there's a lot more going on in this than there was in that, but I mean, I would love to see a cut rate version of this that you could play on the 500 come down the pike, But that this looks great. This will listen. I'm not going to complain. I've been waiting forever for something like this this would have blown minds back in the day, obviously. So, fair play to them for doing this. Thank God. It's. I mean, really, this reminds me of how many times have we talked about how bad Outrun is. This is the Fit of the Crown deluxe set of the modern era for us, because we just talked about it over and over and over like we used to back in the day. We were trying to get that stupid deluxe box set. So this looks great. I have high hopes. I'll be playing this as soon as I can.
Yeah.
Is this
yeah,
available
absolutely.
now, Bode? Do we know if
No, it's still under development.
Okay, great work, guys.
Coming up next, Aaron, this is another game under development. We played a game a couple of years ago on Amigos called World Rally Championship. Okay, and this is a reimagining of the same sort of game. This comes to us from Zuperdan, a name well known amongst the Amiga community. Rally XSE. This is currently being made using the Scorpion engine and will run on a stock A1200. This game I remember a lot of having trouble with because the you're so zoomed in. Do you remember that, Aaron? You were going so fast.
Oh yeah.
And you
yeah.
were so zoomed in that it made it tough. It looks like this game is running a little bit slower, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And you do have a mini map up in the corner too, which can help you out. So, I think you and I have both gained a greater appreciation of the sport of rally since we started doing these shows way back when, and getting more familiar with that. So this is another one to keep an eye on.
It's funny here at the end. There's an update. It says. One of our readers asked Super Dan if it's a unique game or a demo, and the response was, it's not a game yet. It started as a test to see if it was doable, and it turns out it is. I'll keep improving it, who knows? Maybe it'll be a full game in the end. So there you go. Fingers crossed. So this it looks good. These games are sort of fun, and you're right, that was a pet peeve, but this looks good. So I hope Super Dan keeps the ball rolling on this boat. It looks like it might be a winner.
And finally, Aaron, last news of the week. Bad news. Sorry, we got a couple more stories left. Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja Conversion is in the works. Aaron, it's like a dream come true for Team A.
Well, yeah, I love this game. In fact, this is one of the games that helped issue me out the door at Marshall University. They had this done in the Student Center. I mean, it's a dumb and stupid game, Potato, but it's fun. It's dumb, stupid, and fun. 2 players, ninjas. I love ninjas. And the ninjas were hot back in the day. And I thought this was a great implementation of ninjas because they were doing ninja crap. They were teleporting. They were going underwater with the reeve. They had ninja chicks, pet dogs. They had everything. They had wrestlers were in this. They had everything in this. So it's great. To see this come around. JOTD, of course, doing what he always does. And this looks great. So, yes, you're right. I'm real excited about this one. And look at that. We're looking at the poster. Look how cheesy it is. It's great. I love it.
You can just hear him saying, I'm bad.
Me and my boy play this game, and we both say that at the end of every level. It's mandatory. And we have to make our muscle.
And finally, Aaron, one more quick video from Doug this week. This is the in 2023 we all were kind of wondering what happened to the Amiga art contest. He'd done it for several years previous to this, and then it just kind of went away. So Doug, this is his explainer video. The TLDR is that he was busy, and now he's less busy. And so we are going to the Amiga art contest is being relaunched, and to take some of the stress out of it, he's taking away the ear, and he's just calling it the Amiga Art Contest 5. So
did you watch this video, perchance?
Yeah.
So he keeps talking about he who will not be mentioned in this video. I had no idea what he was talking about.
He's talking about Elon Musk.
No, that's not in this case. That's not who he's talking about.
No, I don't know who he's talking about then.
There's a guy that sort of. I had read somewhere that a guy someone had stalked or had been hassling Doug about the contest for a couple of years.
I thought that was Elon Musk. I'm sorry.
No, so I'm flipping. Oh no, he uses that for him too.
Okay.
But I was flipping through Facebook and I saw a video from the guy. There's a rebuttal video to this from this guy, and I watched the video and I thought to myself, this is quite a thing.
This is why we don't do anything like this.
That's exactly what I told the boys on Tuesday. I'm like, why we don't run any contests like this? And they go, wait a minute, what about the Pod Jam? I'm like, that's not a contest. Like, when you give away prizes, and then I just shut up. But so good luck, Doug.
Yeah.
Listen, a lot of good art and music came out of this when they had the last one and the one before, and they've expanded it. I think the last one that didn't ultimately never happen, they expanded it to include a ton of different categories, and a lot of our friends are in it. And you're real talented people that are in there putting together art. In fact, I recall from some stuff from the Amiga show was entered a couple years ago. I think Barkman had some stuff in there. So, in fact, I think the Amiga show art won, as I recall, that a couple years ago.
I wouldn't be surprised. Anthony's great.
Yeah, I think Anthony actually took home, because remember that video he did with the digitizing hardware with different colored things? I think that's what took it. So hopefully this will go smoother, and Doug can take this to the house I'm sure. I mean, it's a great outlet for your artistic types, of which I'm not.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that a ton of people really got into, and I hate that Doug was hassled about it. But hopefully, maybe part of this too is that he'll develop a team. So if he does happen to fall by the wayside because of personal issues, the rest of the team can pick it up and run with it. So
yeah, I agree. Hey, before we shut it down here, I do have, this is just about what I thought I'd show since it just came in the mail today, Boater. So you may recall that a couple years ago, I was fortunate enough to come upon an Amiga 1000, and Boat's got one, I got one. We're lucky boys, Boat, for that.
Yeah.
But unlike Boat, my 1000's keyboard's all jacked up and nasty. And so, and of course, if you're an Amiga 1000 person, you're pretty much boned because just the keys off those keyboards go for like tons of money, and the keyboard costs like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I'm not made of wad, Boat.
No.
You know me. So lo and behold, I just happened to look around on eBay a month ago, and some guy was advertising this gimmick right here, and I picked it up and to the best of my knowledge, up until recently, this didn't exist. But I haven't tried it yet, but I did pick it up. I'm going to try to remove it here from the bag. But this Boat, if you're listening to radio, I'll describe what it is. This is an Amiga 1000 keyboard adapter.
Oh my god!
To go from the because if you'll recall, if you've never seen an Amiga 1000, it's got a keyboard connector that looks like a phone line.
Right, the old RJ45.
Which is why you're not going to connect any old computer keyboard up to it. So this gimmick here, if you look, you've got the keyboard, you've got the phone line on one end, and then a PS2 port on the other, Boat. And so in theory, that gimmick right there will get me in the game to get the 1000 back up and running as I'd like to. I'd love to have a setup sort of like yours, Boat.
Yeah.
If the money train comes in, you get all that additional cool stuff. But I'd like to just have any kind of action on the 1000. So yeah, that was, and this thing costs like $20.
Oh,
It's
reasonable.
a cheap date.
Yeah.
I know. I couldn't believe it. So there's that. Also, one other thing I wanted to mention, because we don't do a ton of shout-outs, but I just, we covered Loom a couple years ago, Boat, you'll recall. And this was our game of the year. And even Boat was down with the clown on that one. I mean, we agreed on that, Boat. It's one of those rare things. And I was listening to Adam from Commodore Chronicles does a show called Fine and Tandy, a podcast. He just released one a couple of days ago. I just heard it today, and he covers Loom, and he does a tremendous job. There was a lot of stuff there that I didn't even know, and it was great, a great review. So if you haven't checked out Adam's family of shows, they're all good. But I mean, Adam is a real meticulous researcher, and I wanted to put this guy over. It was great because I'm a big Loom guy, and I learned a lot about Loom that I didn't know before, and I thought I knew a lot. So there you go, Boat. Yeah. That's all I got, Boater.
All right, man. What do we got coming up next week on Amigos?
Let's see. Dun 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 dun. It's the Empire Strikes Back.
Two different types of space simulators here.
You got that right. This is the Empire Strikes Back. This is the direct sequel to the arcade game Star Wars, the Color Vector game. Did this get an arcade release?
Yeah,
Find out.
Yeah.
Find out if it did.
I mean, I don't know. Did it get an arcade release?
But you got to tune in. You got to tune in to find out, Boat.
All right, guys. Thanks as always for listening. If you like the show and you want to support us, patreon.com/Amigos podcast gives you access to our Discord server and uncut, unedited bonus episodes where we talk about, what did we talk about this week? We talked about my new love affair with Babylon 5.
Yes,
so,
I love it.
Check that out. And we will see you guys next time. And until then, adios.
Amigos is made possible by contributions from listeners like you. Patreon supporters help choose the games we play, receive exclusive magnets, and get access to the Amigos Retro Gaming Discord server. Visit patreon.com/Amigos podcast if you'd like to support the show and join our community.